I'm talking with Bishop Browne from Hamilton, New Zealand. You're very welcome to Ireland,
Thank
Bishop.
you very much. Thank you
Is
very
this
much
your
indeed.
first visit to Ireland?
No, I've come here often having relations. My grandparents came from Ireland, so I come back often and enjoy
And
it.
you enjoy it, I'm sure. I'm not so sure you'd enjoy the cold.
Well, yes. Well, we're in our winter in New Zealand at the
Of
present
course,
time.
so yeah. Tell us about New Zealand, in particular in relation to the Catholic Church. What's the position of the church currently in New Zealand?
Well, currently in New Zealand, we are a small proportion of the population. We're only 15% of the population. Throughout the country, that means about 500,000 Catholics. We come from a great tradition, though, of 175 years. Initially, the first missionaries were French, but the second bishop, not many people know this, but the second bishop of Auckland in New Zealand was a bishop by the name of Bishop Croke, who later became the Archbishop of Cashel. So we like to think that we trained him. And so there's been a tradition in the last 150 years of Irish clergy, religious and lay and families coming and settling in New Zealand. So there are many warm links between the church in New Zealand and the church in Ireland.
Okay. And what do you see as the challenges for the church in New Zealand in the future?
Pope John Paul II, Blessed Pope John Paul II, always asks us when we go to Rome for our ad limina visit, what's the challenge facing the church? And it's always, our response always is, we've become a society that is secular. We've forgotten about God. The church, in a way, has become a little bit irrelevant, but we're still, I think we fight pretty well for a small minority, and we do make some influence on the society around us, but it's a very challenging thing. We've been strengthened in recent times by the arrival of migrant groups from the Philippines and India and Korea, mostly from Asia, and they're bringing their own faith with them and living their faith in a different way to what we've been used to, and that's an enrichment for us in the church.
Yeah, you speak about the situation in relation to materialism and individualism, and there's a disjoint between the church and formal religion and
Yes,
people's lives nowadays. As a church leader, what challenges are there in that for you?
Well, there are all sorts of challenges facing us. We went through a vocational crisis, but the good news for us in the last 2 or 3 years is that the number of vocations, especially to the diocesan priesthood, is increasing. There is the challenge of enabling our young people to have a really strong sense of faith. We've got a very good Catholic school system, but they tell us that only 20% of the children, the Catholic children attending our Catholic schools, would belong to active families within parish communities. So that's a big challenge for us to make sure that the faith is lived fully by our younger people.
In certain parts of Europe, and I think it's certainly true in Ireland, that the initiation sacraments, particularly First Communion and Confirmation, have become more cultural events than religious events. Is that your experience in New Zealand?
No, it hasn't been our experience, but one of the things that we have, and not in all dioceses, but in some dioceses, the Sacraments of Initiation, like children receive confirmation at a younger age than they used to, and it's linked in with the sacrament of the Eucharist, of course. So, and that's a great way in which parents, lots of people who have sort of, as young parents, have drifted away from the practice of their faith, they come back to it through the initiation of their own children, and that's an exciting thing.
Has there been an impact with, I think you mentioned a decrease for a while in vocations. Did that have an impact in the availability of masses in parishes? And did you have to cluster parishes? Or?
We are clustering parishes, but we've always endeavoured to maintain the same number of masses available as were there in the past when there were a greater number of priests, which puts a lot more of a burden on the priests, of course. But so we're going through a processes of trying to encourage the lay people to take their responsibility in areas that they can, and so take pressure off the priests Like some of the priests would be seen as administrators rather than spiritual leaders.
I'm always taken by the phrase, I think it was Pope John Paul in the year 2000, where he said, without the priest there is no Eucharist.
That's right.
And the Eucharist is the church, so we really need our priests.
We are a Eucharistic church. It's the purpose of this Congress,
The purpose of the Congress,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very much, Bishop, for talking to me, and enjoy the rest of your visit.
Thank you.
Thank you. God bless.